When the unimaginable happens and a nuclear fallout spreads across America, survival will hinge on far more than stockpiling supplies. It will depend on where you are. Some states, overwhelmed by radiation, spiraling chaos, and a complete breakdown of order, will become inescapable death traps. The decisions you make today about your location could mean the difference between survival and catastrophe. Welcome to Preppers Community, your trusted source for survival insights and strategies. If you're committed to staying ahead of the unthinkable, take a moment to subscribe to our channel and tap the notification bell. Don't risk missing critical information when you need it most. And while you're here, please like this video. Your support helps us share these life-saving tips with more people who might depend on them in a crisis. Today, we're breaking down the 10 most dangerous states to be in during a fallout. These are places where high population densities, strategic military targets, or harsh geographic realities could turn survival into an impossible challenge. Stick with us until the very end, because the information we're about to share might not just prepare you, it could save your life. California, a state known for its stunning landscapes and vibrant cities, is also one of the most perilous places to be during a nuclear fallout. With sprawling urban centers like Los Angeles and San Francisco, the Golden State transforms into a ticking time bomb when disaster strikes. Why it's dangerous: population density. Over 39 million residents would be scrambling for survival essentials like food, water, and shelter. In mere hours, grocery stores would be emptied, hospitals overwhelmed, and highways locked in unrelenting gridlock. The sheer scale of chaos would be unimaginable. Natural disasters. California already battles devastating natural disasters annually, from earthquakes that topple infrastructure to wildfires that consume entire neighborhoods and ongoing droughts straining water supplies. A fallout would layer catastrophe upon catastrophe, rendering vast parts of the state uninhabitable. Strategic targets. California is home to critical hubs like Silicon Valley, military bases, and major ports such as Long Beach, all of which are high-priority targets in a nuclear strike. An attack on these assets could cripple not only California but the nation as a whole. Now imagine trying to flee this chaos. Highways would become parking lots, leaving families stranded and vulnerable. Supplies like clean water would vanish in days, and the state's vast urban sprawl would trap millions in radioactive wastelands. Even the most well-prepared preppers would face nearly insurmountable odds in California's post-fallout reality. For all its beauty and promise, California's challenges in a crisis make it a place to avoid if survival is your priority. New York, the Empire State and home to America's largest city, is a symbol of resilience, innovation, and culture. But in the event of a nuclear fallout, it becomes one of the most dangerous places to be, where survival would quickly spiral into a desperate struggle. Why it's dangerous? Urban overcrowding. With over 8 million residents packed into New York City, even the thought of evacuation is daunting. The city's streets, bridges, and tunnels would become impassable within hours, leaving millions trapped in the shadow of chaos. Strategic landmarks. New York is more than just a city, it's a symbolic target. From Wall Street, the epicenter of global finance, to the United Nations, and other critical government facilities, New York holds immense strategic importance. In any large-scale attack, it's at the top of the target list. Infrastructure collapse. The city's lifelines, bridges, tunnels, and subways would transform from escape routes into death traps, making it nearly impossible for residents to flee or access safety. Even the city's iconic dense skyline, which has stood as a fortress of human achievement, would become a radiation magnet in a fallout. Skyscrapers may offer temporary shelter, but they also amplify risks, with radiation and structural collapses posing an ever-present threat. For those hoping to survive in New York during a fallout, the odds are stacked against you. The combination of population density, symbolic significance, and geographic limitations make it a state where staying put isn't just a gamble. It's a risk no prepper should ever take. Texas, the Lone Star State, known for its vast landscapes and independent spirit, is no stranger to challenges. But in the face of a nuclear fallout, even its size and resources won't shield it from becoming one of the riskiest states for survival. Why it's dangerous: military bases. Texas is home to some of the nation's most critical defense hubs, including Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, and Joint Base San Antonio. These facilities, vital to national security, also make the state a prime target during large-scale conflicts. A direct strike on any of these locations would unleash devastation across the surrounding areas. Energy infrastructure. Texas plays a central role in America's energy supply, with the Gulf Coast hosting numerous oil refineries and chemical plants. A fallout could trigger catastrophic explosions or release deadly toxins, turning these industrial hubs into hazardous zones. Extreme weather. Texas's climate compounds the risks. From hurricanes along the Gulf Coast to scorching heat waves and frequent flooding, the state's extreme weather conditions would make survival even more grueling. A fallout layered on top of these natural disasters would push even the most prepared to their limits. Adding to these dangers is the urban sprawl of Texas's major cities like Houston, Dallas, and Austin. These densely populated areas would face chaos during evacuation attempts, with highways turning into choked arteries of desperation. Supplies like food and water would deplete rapidly, leaving millions to fend for themselves in an increasingly hostile environment. For all its rugged charm and resilience, Texas's combination of strategic importance, environmental hazards, and logistical challenges makes it a survivalist's nightmare during a fallout. In the face of such overwhelming risks, even the vast open spaces of the Lone Star State might not be enough to offer refuge. Florida, a state synonymous with sunshine, sandy beaches, and vibrant cities, might look like a paradise at first glance. But in the shadow of a nuclear fallout, the Sunshine State becomes a hotbed of survival challenges, turning its alluring coastline into a trap few could escape. Why it's dangerous: geographic vulnerability. Florida is a peninsula, surrounded by water on three sides. This creates a logistical nightmare for evacuation, as the state's limited routes quickly become gridlocked with desperate residents fleeing north. Once major highways are blocked, countless people would find themselves stranded with no safe way out. Hurricane hotspot Florida is no stranger to hurricanes, but during a fallout, these storms bring a terrifying new risk: the ability to spread radioactive particles far and wide. Fallout contamination carried by hurricane winds could render large portions of the state uninhabitable, creating chaos in both urban and rural areas. High population density. With densely packed cities like Miami, Tampa, and Orlando, Florida's urban centers would spiral into chaos within hours. Resources such as food, water, and medical supplies would vanish almost instantly, leaving millions to scramble for survival. Florida's iconic coastline, often seen as a symbol of escape and freedom, would become another death trap during a fallout. Ports and marinas might seem like viable evacuation options, but overcrowding and limited vessel availability would dash any hopes of a quick getaway. For all its natural beauty, Florida's combination of geographic isolation, severe weather risks, and overwhelming population density make it one of the most dangerous places to be in a nuclear fallout. When the skies darken and chaos erupts, the Sunshine State's glow will fade into a grim fight for survival. Illinois, a state that thrives as a hub of commerce and transportation, becomes a high-stakes danger zone during a nuclear fallout. With Chicago at its core, Illinois faces a deadly combination of urban congestion, strategic vulnerabilities, and unforgiving weather that makes survival nearly impossible. Why its dangerous crowded urban areas? Chicago, with a metropolitan population of over 10 million people, would erupt into chaos almost immediately. Evacuation efforts would lead to gridlocked highways, while essential resources like food, water, and medical supplies would disappear within hours. The dense population would create a perfect storm for panic, violence, and disease. Strategic infrastructure. Illinois is home to critical assets like O'Hare International Airport, one of the busiest in the world, along with major financial hubs and extensive railway systems. These infrastructures are not only potential fallout targets but would also collapse under the pressure of a mass evacuation. Harsh winters. Illinois' frigid winters compound the challenges. With temperatures plummeting below freezing, those caught without adequate shelter or heating would face the dual threats of radiation exposure and hypothermia. Snow-covered roads and ice would further hinder evacuation attempts, trapping residents in an ever-worsening situation. The unique mix of overpopulation, critical infrastructure risks, and severe weather conditions make Illinois one of the least viable locations for survival during a fallout. If you're thinking about waiting out a disaster in Chicago or its surrounding areas, think again. The challenges here aren't just daunting, they're Virginia, a state steeped in history and home to picturesque landscapes, is also one of the most perilous places to be during a nuclear fallout. Its proximity to Washington, D.C. and strategic military significance make it a hotspot for disaster, where survival would become an uphill battle. Why it's dangerous. Close to the capital Washington, D.C., is a primary target in any large-scale conflict. Fallout from a strike on the nation's capital would quickly spread into northern Virginia, contaminating densely populated areas and critical infrastructure. This geographic proximity turns Virginia into a radiation spillover zone, amplifying its dangers. Military installations. Virginia is home to several major military facilities, including the Norfolk Naval Base, the largest naval base in the world. These installations are vital to national defense but also make Virginia a high-priority target. Any attack aimed at crippling the U.S. military would have devastating ripple effects across the state. Dense population Northern Virginia's urban sprawl, combined with the large populations of cities like Virginia Beach, would make evacuation efforts chaotic at best. Highways would become impassable choke points, leaving millions stranded in areas vulnerable to radiation exposure and societal breakdown. Virginia's combination of strategic military importance and dense population centers creates a volatile environment during a fallout. To make matters worse, the state's natural wind patterns could carry fallout particles deeper into its territory, spreading contamination faster than residents could flee. With its proximity to high-value targets, logistical challenges, and potential for widespread fallout, Virginia becomes a state where survival is not just difficult, it's downright dangerous. For preppers looking to maximize their chances, avoiding Virginia should be a top priority. Nevada, with its sprawling deserts and iconic attractions, may seem like an isolated refuge at first glance. But in a nuclear fallout, its harsh environment and strategic significance make it one of the most inhospitable states for survival. Beneath the bright lights of Las Vegas lies a state filled with challenges that even the most seasoned preppers would struggle to overcome. Why it's dangerous. Nevada has a long history with nuclear testing, making it one of the most likely states to face severe fallout contamination. Areas that were once testing grounds could quickly become zones of intense radiation exposure, amplifying the danger. Nevada's climate is as unforgiving as it is extreme. Daytime temperatures soar to scorching highs, while nights bring freezing cold. These swings in temperature, combined with the lack of shelter, make survival an exhausting and dangerous challenge. Nevada's barren deserts are notorious for their scarcity of food, water, and medical supplies. Small towns are scattered far apart, and with transportation networks crippled, accessing even the bare essentials would become nearly impossible. While Las Vegas may initially seem like a beacon of hope, it's anything but. The city's heavy reliance on external supply chains for food, water, and energy means that its resources would vanish almost instantly. With millions of desperate residents and visitors trapped in an urban maze, Las Vegas would become a cauldron of chaos and desperation. Nevada's combination of radiation risks, extreme climate, and resource scarcity makes it one of the most perilous states during a fallout. In the face of these overwhelming challenges, the state's vast, open spaces become more of a curse than a refuge. For anyone planning their survival strategy, avoiding Nevada is not just wise, it's essential. Pennsylvania, with its rich history and strategic location, becomes a high-risk zone during a nuclear fallout. The state's dense urban centers, proximity to national landmarks, and complex infrastructure present formidable challenges for anyone aiming to survive such a catastrophe. Why it's dangerous. Urban crowds. Pennsylvania's major cities, notably Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, are densely populated. Philadelphia alone houses approximately 1.55 million residents, resulting in a population density of about 11,379 people per square mile. In a fallout scenario, these urban areas would rapidly descend into chaos, with mass evacuations leading to gridlocked streets and a swift depletion of essential resources. Proximity to Washington, D.C. The southeastern part of Pennsylvania lies close to the nation's capital. In the event of a nuclear attack on Washington, D.C., radioactive fallout could easily drift into Pennsylvania, contaminating large swaths of the state and endangering its inhabitants. Logistical challenges. Pennsylvania's extensive transportation networks, including highways, railroads, and bridges, are designed to support daily commutes and commerce. However, in a crisis, these same networks would become choke points, hindering evacuation efforts and complicating the distribution of aid. Additionally, Pennsylvania hosts several nuclear power plants such as the 3 Mile Island facility, which has a history of nuclear incidents. The presence of these plants adds another layer of risk, as they could become potential targets or suffer accidents during a widespread disaster. Given these vulnerabilities, Pennsylvania poses significant risks for survival during a nuclear fallout. The combination of dense populations, strategic significance, and infrastructural complexities makes it a state that preppers might consider avoiding in their contingency planning. Washington State, renowned for its lush landscapes and technological innovation, harbors significant dangers in the event of a nuclear fallout. The combination of economic significance, military installations, and coastal vulnerabilities positions Washington as a critical target, with Seattle at the epicenter of potential devastation. Why its dangerous economic importance? Seattle is a powerhouse of economic activity, hosting global giants such as Microsoft and Boeing. The city's status as a technological and aerospace hub elevates its profile as a strategic target, where an attack could cripple national economic and industrial capabilities. Military presence. The state is home to significant military installations, including Naval Base Kitsap, which houses a substantial portion of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. This concentration of military assets amplifies the risk of Washington being targeted in a nuclear conflict. Coastal vulnerabilities. Washington's position along the Pacific coastline exposes it to potential threats from overseas adversaries. The proximity to international waters could facilitate the delivery of long-range missile strikes or other offensive actions, increasing the state's susceptibility during a fallout scenario. The iconic skyline of Seattle, symbolizing progress and resilience, would face unprecedented peril in such events. The immediate effects of a nuclear detonation coupled with subsequent fallout could lead to catastrophic destruction and long-term environmental contamination. Given these factors, Washington's blend of economic assets, military significance, and geographic exposure renders it a highly vulnerable state in the context of nuclear fallout. For individuals focused on preparedness, understanding these risks is crucial when evaluating safety and survival strategies. Hawaii, often celebrated as a tropical paradise, transforms into one of the most perilous places during a nuclear fallout. Its unique geographic and strategic characteristics present formidable challenges that can turn its idyllic islands into inescapable hazards. Why it's dangerous? Isolation. Situated over 2,000 miles from the U.S. mainland, Hawaii's remoteness becomes a critical vulnerability in a crisis. In the aftermath of a nuclear event, disruptions to air and sea transport could delay essential supplies for weeks if they arrive at all, leaving residents in a precarious situation. Military targets. Hawaii hosts significant military installations, notably Pearl Harbor, making it a high-priority target in any nuclear conflict. The presence of these bases increases the likelihood of the islands being directly impacted during hostilities. Limited resources. The state's heavy reliance on imports for food, water, and medical supplies exacerbates its vulnerability. In a fallout scenario, supply chain disruptions would lead to rapid depletion of essential resources, creating a dire situation for inhabitants. The combination of geographic isolation, strategic military significance, and dependence on external supplies renders Hawaii exceptionally dangerous during a nuclear fallout. While it may be a paradise in times of peace, in the context of such a disaster, it becomes a challenging environment for survival. In the unpredictable landscape of potential disasters, preparedness is your strongest ally. Identifying and steering clear of these high-risk states could be the decisive factor between survival and peril. If this video provided valuable insights, please give it a thumbs up and share it with those who would benefit from this crucial information. Your engagement helps us reach a wider audience, spreading awareness and preparedness. Don't miss out on our weekly survival strategies and tips. Subscribe to Preppers Community and activate the notification bell to stay informed about the latest content designed to keep you and your loved ones safe in any disaster scenario. Remember, in times of crisis, knowledge and preparation are your best defenses. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and stay safe.